I don't doubt the aspirations of all parents in relation to their children. But I mean all parents. What we've been able to do is to make sure we release the funding to ensure that our state secondary schools have the teachers they need. And there's no point the party opposite pretending that they're interested in state education when they left them without the teaching they needed.
Dr. Rear-Jegvold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You've never seen a moment like this before. The British Prime Minister, publicly embarrassed, called out as a liar inside Parliament. For saying something so absurd, MPs could barely believe what they were hearing. What Starmer said wasn't just misleading, it was shameless. A lie so bold, the chamber erupted with outrage. The Speaker had to rise, the room boiling over, and Starmer visibly rattled looked, unsure of what might come next. But what exactly did he say? This was the moment that exposed him. A lie told with the calm confidence of truth, as if he genuinely believed no one would call him out. But they did dash loudly. It all started with one policy, a new tax on private school fees. What followed wasn't debate, it was disbelief. Let's break it all down.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. St Hilda's Girls' School looks set to join Emmanuel Jewish Prep as the second school in Bushey alone forced to close because of Labour's VAT hike. This is a double hit to aspiration. First, the parents, many of whom not wealthy, who have described the significant sacrifices they have made to send their children to these schools. And secondly, to the excellent local state schools, including the one that I attended, which simply do not have the places, meaning this policy won't even save money. So may I therefore urge the Prime Minister, even at this late stage, to look again at the failures in this policy.
Even before Starmer opened his mouth at PMQs, the fallout had already hit home. A private school in his own constituency shut down. The village school for girls in Camden, part of Starmer's Holborn and St Pancras seat, publicly blamed Labour's VAT policy and national insurance hike, not speculation, direct attribution. They said it plainly. Labour's tax plans made their school unsustainable, and this wasn't an isolated case. 12 private schools have already closed, all pointing to Labour's VAT raid. 77 more independent schools in England have shut since Labour first floated the idea. The trend is clear. Smaller, regional schools outside the London bubble are going under fast. Parents can't absorb the sudden fee hike. Enrollments collapse, schools vanish, and then what? Thousands of displaced students flood into a state system that's already stretched thin. There aren't enough spaces, there isn't enough staff, there isn't a plan. Labour promised this policy would raise £1.8 billion. What they didn't say is how much it might cost in chaos. And when the damage shows up in Starmer's own backyard, he can't spin it as someone else's problem. This isn't redistribution. It's reckless policy, and the consequences have already begun. Starmer promised the VAT on private schools would raise £1.8 billion, money to hire teachers and improve state schools. On paper, sounds great. In reality, it's a ticking time bomb. Labour's policy is forcing tens of thousands of students out of private education and right into a state system that's already bursting at the seams. Class sizes are already too big, teachers are already overstretched. Now Starmer's plan throws even more students into the fire. The result? Fewer places in top state schools, more competition for already limited slots, rising inequality, larger class sizes, fewer resources for everyone. Parents who worked hard to pay for private education are being punished, now fighting for the same limited state school spots. It's not just about money, it's about chaos. And what happens to the teachers from the private schools shutting down? Thousands will be out of work. The state system can't absorb them fast enough, so students get less support while the system buckles. And here's where the hypocrisy gets personal. When asked about his own education, Starmer admitted he went to a grammar school in Surrey. And guess what? That school became private while he was still attending it. And Starmer's response when called out? He said he didn't really notice. Of course he didn't, because he's never lived under the strain of the very policies he's now forcing on everyone else.
I was a scholarship boy at my school and very proud of it. And I have to ask, what kind of a politician is it that sets out to make it more difficult for schools to offer exactly the kind of scholarships and bursaries that gave him such a crucial leg up in life? And the answer, of course, is Keir Starmer and the opportunity-destroying, aspiration-hating Labour Party. Read about it in my column in the Daily Mail.
So the man who now calls private education an unfair privilege, he attended a private school himself, and now he wants to block other families from making the same choice. That's not reform. That's elitist hypocrisy. Starmer climbed the ladder, then kicked it away behind him. And don't be fooled. Eton, Harrow, Westminster, they'll be just fine. They'll survive Labour's tax raid without breaking a sweat. The real casualties: middle-class parents, families who work extra shifts, cut corners, and save for years to afford small independent schools. They're the ones getting crushed. Starmer's plan doesn't hit the rich. It hits those who sacrifice most for their children's future and punishes them for it.
The Prime Minister's decision to impose VAT on independent schools strips hard-working families of the choice for what is best for their children, while risking job losses for teachers, increasing class sizes, and squeezing state school resources to their absolute limit. With these impending threats, what actions is the Prime Minister taking to mitigate these effects if he is not undertaking an impact assessment to understand them?
Look, I do understand that many parents across the country save hard to be able to send their children to private school because they have aspiration for their children. So does every parent who sends their children to a state school. And the problem we have is we don't have enough teachers in key subjects in our state secondary school. Now, the party opposite may be prepared to tolerate that. I'm not. And that's why we've made this change to fund 6,500 teachers.
Before we go further, a quick pause. Are you finding this video insightful? If yes, hit the like button, share it, and subscribe for more deep dives into British politics. Let's get back into it. Labour's VAT raid on private schools isn't just unpopular, it might be illegal. The Independent Schools Council has taken Labour to the High Court, their claim. The policy violates human rights by disrupting children's education and punishing families. And it's not just legal pressure. Even Labour MPs are growing nervous. MP Rupert Hook publicly warned the policy is too blunt and risks massive damage. She even called for exemptions for smaller schools. Translation: even insiders know the fallout is real. But here's the problem for Starmer. If the courts strike it down, he's forced into a humiliating If he stands firm, he risks creating one of the biggest education disasters in modern British history. And when Rupert Hook called him out in Parliament, everyone expected the usual political deflection. A dodge, a delay, a non-answer. But what Starmer did next shocked even his own side. It was as if he'd chosen political suicide.
I don't doubt the aspirations of all parents in relation to their children. But I mean all parents. What we've been able to do is to make sure we release the funding to ensure that our state secondary schools have the teachers they need. And there's no point the party opposite pretending that they're interested in state education when they left them without the teaching they needed.
Dr. Richard Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Keir Starmer's political mask slipped in Parliament, and this time, even his own policy turned against him. The Prime Minister smugly dismissed the reality of his VAT tax on private schools. He insisted, with zero evidence, that his policy isn't causing schools to shut down. But before the words even left his mouth, the facts had already destroyed the fiction. That's when Tory frontbencher Victoria Adkins had enough. She cut through the spin, shouting across the chamber, "That is a lie." The House erupted. Of course, under parliamentary rules, MPs can't call each other liars, no matter how true it is. So Adkins was forced to withdraw her statement. But let's be clear, she only said what the entire country is already thinking.
Shh, there is no punchline. I presume something was said that shouldn't have been said. I'm sure the member would like to withdraw what was said, if they've anything about them.
Starmer wasn't just evasive, he was caught flat out denying basic reality, trying to gaslight the entire country into believing his crippling VAT policy wasn't destroying the very schools he claimed would adapt. But this wasn't just another awkward clash at PMQs, this was Starmer's credibility being torn apart, live on national television. It was a reckoning. His lies, his failed policy, and his breathtaking hypocrisy were laid bare for all to see. Yet even as schools shut down, even as parents are crushed by soaring fees, even as students are forced out of their classrooms into a collapsing state system, Starmer still pretends nothing is wrong. This isn't leadership, this is arrogance. Cold, elitist, and detached. More obsessed with political optics than real solutions for real families. And if he doesn't wake up, this education disaster won't just dent his image. It will define his legacy, because if there's one thing the British public hates more than incompetence, it's dishonesty. And Keir Starmer just got caught lying to the entire nation, with devastating consequences for thousands of families. Do you believe Starmer still has the moral right to lead? Is he protecting the country or damaging it beyond repair? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share and subscribe for more explosive breakdowns of British politics and what they're not telling you. Until next time, stay tuned.